The Earth just slammed on the brakes and then spun the wrong way. Imagine the sun rising in the west and setting in the east. If Earth started spinning backwards, nothing about our world would remain polite or predictable. The sky would be the least of our worries. Start with one fact. Everything that moves on Earth, wind, ocean, weather systems, even the slow wobble of our axis, is tuned to the spin we have now. Flip that spin and you flip the rules. First, the easy picture. Day would still last 24 hours. But dawn would sweep in from the opposite horizon. Cities built for sunlight and wind would suddenly be facing the wrong way. Solar panels, carefully angled for decades of sunrise direction, would underperform. Morning commutes could feel like someone rearranged the map. Now the science that feels like a magician pulling the tablecloth. Earth's rotation creates the Coriolis effect, that invisible shove that makes storms swirl, rivers curve, and jets tilt. It's small, but over thousands of kilometers it sculpts weather. Reverse the spin, and the Coriolis force flips sign. That means cyclones that used to spin counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere would spin the other way. Weather systems would reorganize like a deck of cards shuffled during an earthquake. The consequences are immediate and cinematic. Hurricanes born in the Atlantic would change their dance moves. Routes we've tracked for years, the storms that usually head northeast, could suddenly head southwest. Coastal cities that studied decades of storm patterns would be blindsided. Emergency plans built on statistics would fail the first test. Imagine a wall of water approaching a shoreline that was never designed to face a storm front. Whole neighborhoods would feel betrayed by the map. Oceans would not be gentle. Tides themselves depend on rotation and the moon's pull. Reverse the spin and tidal currents would reroute. The Gulf Stream, the warm conveyor belt that hugs the Atlantic and keeps Europe mild, could weaken or even stall. Northern Europe might lose its balmy winters. Ports and harbors, used to a certain current, would suddenly fight against a new, stronger flow. Shipping lanes would reroute like veins under pressure. Beaches would erode fast on coasts that never expected the ocean to bite that hard. Rivers would change their temper. Rivers carved paths over millennia under one spin. Reverse it, and sediment builds differently. Deltas could starve of silt on one side and choke with it on the other. Farms downstream would see their irrigation plans collapse. The great floodplains would learn a new vocabulary: surprise and loss. Mountains and earthquakes? Not immune. Rotation affects the distribution of stress in Earth's crust. It's subtle, but with tectonic plates already balanced on a knife edge, small nudges matter. Fault lines could wake in patterns we've never cataloged. Regions with low quake risk might feel a tremor that reads like a new language of shaking. Buildings rated safe by old codes might creak and fail under unfamiliar stresses. Then there's the atmosphere, our planet's slow-moving memory. Jet streams are ribbons of air that circle the globe, carrying weather west to east in predictable bands. Flip the spin and those ribbons breathe the opposite way. Cold fronts that used to slide east would barrel west. Places accustomed to gentle winters might face cold snaps that feel like a delivery from Siberia. Agriculture calendars timed to frost dates would be fools overnight. A vineyard could go from perfect harvest to disaster in a single season. Wildlife would be stunned. Birds that migrate by stars and magnetic cues would find the map rewritten. Sea turtles that hatch and crawl toward the light on the horizon could march the wrong way. Whales that follow currents for feeding would find their buffet closed or moved. Migration patterns etched into evolution could become evolutionary dead ends. Species survival would be decided by the speed of adaptation. Human systems would fray in quieter ways too. Power grids optimized for predictable demand peaks might see new spikes when weather-driven demand shifts. Insurance companies would stare at losses they never modeled. Economies could wobble as crops fail in one belt and flood in another. Global supply chains would strain as ports, airports, and rail networks reroute. And then the long, eerie twist. The Earth's axis itself might slowly react. Our current spin stabilizes the tilt that gives us seasons. If the rotational dynamics change enough, the tilt could wobble more. That means not only a reversal of day-to-day winds and currents, but a longer-term climate shuffle. Seasons could lengthen or swing in intensity. Places that always had predictable springs could find their summers shortened, their winters longer, or their yearly rhythm pushed off-beat for decades. Would humanity survive? Absolutely. Would it be pretty? No. We'd lose beaches, reroute shipping lanes, rewrite farming calendars. We'd see new storm tracks, reorganized ocean life, and people forced to move. Some industries would die fast, some would adapt and thrive. Human engineering is stubbornly creative under stress. But here's the cinematic imagine. Picture a city built to face west. Skylines lined with solar glass glinting at dawn as a suddenly reversed sun washes them from the other side. Gusts tear down familiar streets, carrying a smell of ocean in a direction it never traveled before. Sirens wail as a storm tracks across a map that looked safe yesterday. People climb rooftops, not to watch a sunrise, but to figure out which way the world now leans. Before we wrap, a quick note. If you like this mind-bending disaster, hit subscribe and like. It helps us make bigger, louder thought experiments. Tell us in the comments, where would you go if the wind and the seas suddenly flipped? Would you move inland, follow the old currents, or rebuild on the beach? And if you want a future video, should we simulate the exact day-by-day weather changes for one coastal city and watch what happens? If Earth started spinning backwards, could civilization adapt? Or would we redraw the map by necessity?